founding sponsors of the Rod of Iron Freedom Festival. I have the great pleasure and honor of introducing Sebastian Gorka, an American patriot, a Newsmax commentator, and an author of numerous books. Dr. Gorka!
Last year, Justin read my introduction. I think it was longer than my speech. I said, this year, keep it short, and he did. Thank you, Justin. I am so grateful to that man, to his family, to Car Firearms. This is one company that understands the Second Amendment is the one that makes all the others possible. And as he said on my radio show in front of 3.5 million people once, you can vote your way into communism, but you have to shoot your way out. Right? All right, so I was giving another analysis of the threat we face and the stakes on November the 5th on my radio show on Friday. And a sentence came out of my mouth that made me stop. And the sentence was, the first time they tried to kill my former boss, President Trump. And I said, what did I just say? The first time they tried to kill him? Do we need any other piece of evidence to explain the severity of the path, the fork in the road in 3 weeks' time? I was in Butler, Pennsylvania last week. And to be back there where President Trump was shot in the head made everything crystallize for me. I get asked a lot, why do you do what you do? Why are you so aggressive in your protection of America and our freedoms? And I always say, I have no choice. Just like the Moon Brothers, I have no choice. Why? Because my father, the bravest man I know, went to his grave with the scars on his body where the communist secret police tortured him at the age of 20. I don't have any option but to fight, fight, fight. When I came to America with my family in 2008, and I started working for the Defense Department, greatest honor of my life up to that point, the conservatives I got to know in Virginia used to say, the commies are coming. Communism's coming to America. And you know what I used to do? I used to laugh with them. I said, what do you mean? This is America. This is the land of the free and the home of the brave. We defeated the Nazis. We defeated the Soviet Union. Are you kidding me, communists? I laughed in their face. I don't laugh anymore because it's here. Ask my former White House colleagues, Peter Navarro and Steve Bannon. Steve Bannon, former assistant to the president, my boss. I was a strategist to the president. Steve was chief strategist to the president. He is sitting in the Danbury Federal Prison in Connecticut right now. Why? Because he's MAGA, because he's America first. That's why. We have political prisoners in America. I never thought that sentence would come out of my political prisoners in America. And it's not just famous people like Steve or Peter. Recently, a 73-year-old grandmother was given a custodial sentence by a federal judge. What was her crime? praying at an abortion clinic. These are the sentences when you say them, you go, am I in a nightmare? Am I asleep? A 73-year-old grandmother was sentenced for praying at an abortion clinic. The weird thing about my former boss, President Trump, is he doesn't have my excuse. His dad wasn't tortured and imprisoned in a communist regime. He's a billionaire from Queens. That's why it's all the more stunning. Did you watch the rally when we went back to Butler? Do you remember how he started it? This is what freaks me out, because I can't do this, right? I have a reputation for being a scary guy. I have got a sense of humor, but I keep it pretty well hidden. Ask my wife. And it's a very select sense of humor. You know, Monty Python. It's very, very sophisticated. He started his speech with what? He put the chart up of the illegals and said, as I was saying. Who does that? Who does that? He says, as I was saying before I was shot in the head by a Democrat donor. Who does that? Wow. And it's not just about him. Can I share with you, I don't know if you've managed to watch the whole thing, the whole Butler rally, the Redux. About 20 minutes in, it was a hot day in Butler. It was a beautiful day, but it was hot. And some people had been there since the day before. I mean, it was, when I arrived 4 hours early, the overflow, the horizon, you couldn't see it. There was at least 80,000 people there. And during the president's speech, one of the people in the bleachers collapsed. I mean, just heat exhaustion, dehydration. And the president does what he always does. He said, doctor in the house, EMTs, can you please help that person? And instead of what another politician would do, which is wait till the EMTs are there and then start his speech again, President Trump stopped. He didn't talk for the next 10 minutes while the EMTs, the doctor, went to the person who needed aid and removed him to safety. He stopped. Do you know what happened in the middle of that 10 minutes? This is when I realized I'm doing the right thing. Whatever the cost to me, however what they do to my family, it's worth it. Why? Halfway through that sizable interval, from the bleachers behind the president, where Chief Corey Compratore was murdered, shielding his wife and daughters, from that bleacher section, patriots started to organically sing our national anthem. Wasn't the president, wasn't the opera singer, Chris, who came on later. The people in the audience started to sing the national anthem. And to us, that's like, well, yeah, of course, it's silence. We want to give strength to the person who needs medical assistance, some spiritual strength. Of course you're going to start singing the national anthem. But you know what hit me as I'm sitting there? I said to my friend who was next to me, I said, you do know that would never happen at a Democrat rally. And it's funny, right? But it's true. Can you think of any, it's sad, it's really quite horrific. I can't think of no instance at a Democrat rally where the people in a pause would self-organically start singing the national anthem. Never. Never. And this just reinforces, do you remember the DNC convention? What was it? 8 years ago? Suddenly somebody realized the convention's going, the Democrat convention, and they have the flags of every country on the planet except America. Do you remember that? Every flag except the flag of their country. And so they had to send some staffers to the town hall to steal some flags from the town hall. So this just reinforces one thing for me. I've said this for years on the radio. We have to delete the letter R and the letter D from behind the names of Americans today. We're not Republicans or Democrats. I'm giving the speech, okay? If you want to drive 8 hours here and give the speech, next year talk to Justin, all right? Audience participation for the Q&A. In the meantime, it's the guy with the funny accent, okay? But you're right. Let me just unpack it a little bit. It's not liberal or conservative. It's not Republican or Democrat. And this is what must focus our minds for November the 5th. The only division in America today is between those who love America and those who hate it. Right? Those who love America and those who hate it. And I can illustrate this. This isn't my opinion. It's not Dr. G. I can prove it to you. How can you love America and dismantle the border regime we put in place in the Trump White House? How can you forget the figure of 10 million. 10 million are the illegals we know came into the country. That ignores the gotaways, right? The guys and gals CBP doesn't see. You can conservatively double it. So 20 million, how can you love America and let 20 million illegals into the nation? You can't. How can you give literally billions of dollars to Iran, which every Friday says death to America from the pulpit, and say you love America? How can you call Bibi Netanyahu, our closest ally in the Middle East, not an ally, and be an American? You can't. How can you be on the side of the criminals and not the victims? Think about the recent murders of Jocelyn Nungare, 12-year-old girl raped and murdered by an illegal. Laken Riley in Atlanta, a beautiful 22-year-old nursing student, went for a jog, raped and murdered by an illegal. One of the illegals who committed that crime, do you know what happened to him? He was let into America by Joe Biden and Alejandro Mayorkas and Kamala Harris, arrested for child endangerment in New York, and then released with no bail so he could rape and murder. You can't love America and do that. And what did Kamala say last Saturday? What would you do differently if you were president? Nothing. Nothing. Which means 20 million isn't enough. It's got to be 40 million. Gas at $3 isn't enough. Gas at $6 is going to be great. You can take politics out of this completely. And probably we need to for the next 3 weeks, because we need everybody to vote for President Trump. Right? Everyone. Everyone. And if you've got somebody around you who's not engaged, doesn't vote, isn't registered, or a Democrat who's kind of like maybe a little bit fed up, just one piece of evidence, just one, should make them say, okay, maybe I'll vote for Trump. When President Trump left the White House, the average monthly mortgage payment in America was $800. Today, the same average mortgage payment is $1,700. I mean, let's forget politics. The most important thing you own is your home. And it is now more than 100% more expensive to pay the mortgage for an American home. And then you look at people who are being given hotel rooms on your dime. Recently, we had the great Eric Trump tell the truth. Yeah, give Eric a round. Tell the truth about New York. There are now 157 hotels in New York where none of you can book a room. Why? Because they're full of illegals. 157 hotels in one city that are full of illegals, paid for by you. Now, we are told these aren't illegals, and we have fewer border encounters with illegals than under Trump. It's like living in an, bizarro world. Orwell. Do you know how they're not technically illegals? Do you know how they did this shell game? This is when you realize they really hate America. It's the crucial moment from the J.D. Vance Waltz debate. Do you remember when they tried to fact check J.D. on illegals? And he said, hang on a second, we said no fact checking. You want to fact check me? I'm going to fact check you. And he explained something called the CBP-1 app. Customs and Border Protection, CBP. The CBP-1 phone app was paid for by you. It is a Department of Homeland Security phone application. Any illegal from anywhere in the world can download it. And they're sitting in Mexico, in a trailer park, in a bed and breakfast, on the side of the road. They download the app. And they fill it out themselves. And they say, hi, my name's John Smith, and I am a refugee. And as soon as you send your name and your request for asylum, for parole, the CBP app, without verifying who you are, sends you a number. You are approved for parole into the United States. Yes, wow. Big time wow. So when that illegal from Guatemala, Afghanistan, Somalia comes to the border, they say, oh look, here's my number. I'm John Smith, number X572. And they are waved into the country. Because magically they're suddenly not illegals. They're given a phone paid for by you. They're given, according to latest reports, $15,000 worth of EBT credits. $15,000 per person. And they are asked, which city in America would you like a plane ticket to? If you do the math, if only 1% of these, and this is like super conservative, if only 1% of 20 million are terrorists, cartel members, and foreign spies, that is a literal invasion of the United States on divisional-sized assets. That is a war with America. And that's what they have declared. And what is the damage to those who are already here in America? Once for my TV show, my Newsmax show, I decided to go and do the math of what the cost is to Americans of open borders. And I went back and I looked at every war since the end of World War II and counted the number of men in uniform who died for America. So that's what? Korea, that's Vietnam, that's Gulf War I, Gulf War II, and Afghanistan. So 5 big conflicts in 70 years. And I added up all the KIA, all the killed in action. The total in 70 years was 103,000 men in uniform. 103,000 Americans died for you. In the second year of the Biden administration, you can find the data. It is buried on the CDC website. You have to really look for it. I looked for the number of overdose deaths in a year, mostly from fentanyl that is brought across the border from China. In the second year of the Biden administration, 110,000 Americans were killed by overdose. Nobody talks about it. More people died because of Kamala Harris, the border czar, in 1 year than in 70 years of war. That's why this is existential. You've heard the phrase, I know, a million times. This is the most important election in your life. Well, guess what? This time it is. How do I know that? How do I know that? Don't listen to me, listen to the Democrats. If they achieve just half of what they want to achieve, America disappears. What have they said publicly? You can listen. Tim Walz said it last week. Kamala Harris said it. Chuck Schumer has said it. What's the guy, the little waddler, the penguin? Jerry Nadler, right? Boo, yes, boo indeed. I call him the waddler. Jerry Nadler has said it. We will guarantee a pathway to citizenship for all illegals. I asked my former White House colleague Stephen Miller, who was the genius behind our border campaign, I asked him live on radio, Stephen, how many illegals are there in America? Because there was this Yale study 20 years ago that there's 12 million illegals. And everybody quotes this 12 million. But that was over a decade ago. How can it still be 12 million? It doesn't stay 12 million. I said, Stephen, how many is it? And he said, Seb, I've done the math. Right now we have at least 40 million illegals in America. If 40 million illegals are given citizenship, kiss America goodbye. If they manage to lower the voting age, as they said they wish to do, to 8 to 16, if they manage to pack the Supreme Court with Democrat nominees, it's gone. It ceases to exist as a nation, and they've locked in a permanent Democrat regime. And next time, it won't be Peter Navarro. It won't be Steve Bannon. It'll be you. It'll be you. And God bless Peter Navarro. He went to prison, and he was released the day of the RNC convention in Milwaukee, and my wife and I were there. And I would not be as cheerful as he was when he took the stage after 4 years in Biden's political prison. But God bless him for saying the following, and he's right. I went to prison, so you don't have to. That's Peter. So let's look ahead. Let's look at the next 3 weeks. Katie is going to talk to you about some exciting stuff that she's seeing. She's now the chair of the Republican Party in the biggest county in Virginia. So she'll give you some exciting news, but also talk about what has to be done. Let me do a little poll. Hands up, everyone who has heard of and gone to the TrumpForce47.com site. Okay, that's about 10 of you. All right. I would like to give this speech tomorrow and have every hand raised, because this is how we save America. Number one, it is crucial to understand that everybody who loves America needs to vote early. I know we don't like it. I know. I want to go on election day, and I want to handle the ballot, and I want to put it in the ballot box because I'm old school. Yeah, totally. I'm voting early. Why? Listen to this one. If you only take one sentence home from you with you today, it's this one. If every patriot only votes on election day, the Democrats win. Sorry, because they're all voting now. If we wait until election day, we lose. And you don't know what's going to happen on election day. You don't know if a hurricane's going to hit, you get a flat tire, you break your leg, your son's sick. You have no idea. And why is it important to vote early? Because they're voting early. And they're mobilizing everyone who's got a pulse, and some people who don't, to vote. And why is it important? I didn't understand this until recently. As soon as I vote, the Republican Party is told that I have voted. which means they don't have to chase me to go and vote. They don't have to spend time and money calling me, texting me, sending somebody to knock on my door saying, hey, Sebastian, have you voted? They cross me off and they go to somebody else who really needs encouraging to vote, who's still sitting on his backside, who hasn't voted. You are saving President Trump time and money if you vote early. It's absolutely crucial. And I'm sorry, I presume everybody is from Pennsylvania, or most of you. This is the most important state. Pennsylvania is the key to this election. It is the epicenter of the salvation of America. I mean, God bless Scott Pressler, who's gone from gun show to farm stand to, registering voters every day, every hour God sends him. We're flipping county after county now with more Republicans registered than Democrats. And that's how we win. And what TrumpForce47.com does, it's genius. It's genius. Look, if we can't change the rules, we've got to beat them. I mean, I live in Virginia. We have an allegedly conservative governor, okay? We have 45 stinking days of voting. We started voting 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. It's insane. That's not even a week of voting. That's not even a month of voting. That's a month and a half of voting. It's insanity. And guess what? If we can't change the rules, we got to play with their rules. And what TrumpForce47.com does, genius, gives you, they make you a captain, you're a captain in the Trump Force, gives you the name of 10 people around you, close to you, who are Republicans, who are a little bit soft or maybe haven't voted early, and you get their phone number, their email, their address, and you call them up and say, hey John, I know you're a Republican, have you voted yet? Can I encourage you to go vote? It's priceless. I was in the post office. Everywhere I go, I wear this hat now. I'm not a big ball cap guy, all right? It's just, not my thing. I wear this every time I'm out with a suit. And it's fun, because I live in a very Democrat part of Virginia. I tell you, it's a lot of fun. And the patriots come up to you. I had a guy, I went to get a coffee yesterday, and he says, wow, you're so brave to wear that hat. It's like, it's a hat. It's a hat. The first time I did it, let me just share this and then I'll take some questions. I went to this coffee shop that's pretty new, and it's run by people from a certain country in the Middle East, and they had flyers the first week which were pro-Palestine, okay? So I said, screw it, I'm going to wear the hat. So I wore the hat and I walk in, and this Dem gives me the daggers, the stink eye and the face. And I decided to be fun and I said, madam, it's only a hat. And then she flipped. She just said, how dare you? Oh, who says you can talk to me? And I said, it's called the Constitution. And we had this nice exchange, and then she storms out with her soy milk latte. And then behind the counter, this black woman with a thick African accent looks at me and says, make America great again. Like this, right? A legal immigrant says, yeah. The woman next to me who's about to pay for a coffee says, I love your hat. And then the best part is, these guys across the cafe in the corner say, hey, when you get your coffee, come over here. This is a MAGA-only table. That was like 180 seconds in one of the deepest blue parts of the Commonwealth. You can make a change by not just wearing this to a gathering of the most hardcore patriots in Greeley, right? Wear it everywhere. Be a catalyst. But I mentioned this simply because yesterday I went back to the post office and I had the hat on, and there's this woman opening her mail from the post box, and she looks at me and she says, hi. I say, hi. She says, I'm working with Trump Force 47. And she said, I've made 1,000 phone calls. 1,000 by herself. Could you imagine if every single person in this room just made 10 phone calls in the next 3 weeks and said, hey, Rebecca, I've seen you, walking your dog around the neighborhood. Have you voted yet? I see you're a Republican. Have you voted yet? Because, Pennsylvania is the key. So please, 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 write it down right now. Go on your phone, TrumpForce47.com. Become a captain, TrumpForce47.com. Because this is it. This is it. Do it for your kids. Do it for your grandkids. Do it for those who aren't born yet. Because we remain the greatest nation the world has ever seen, and we are close to losing it. And if he can take a bullet for you, I think we can all make a few phone calls. Right? All right, before I introduce the real star and my real boss, I'll take a couple of questions. Who's got a question? About anything. Just keep it clean. Yes, we've got a microphone coming down here. Pink hat, pink hat. Catch the lady. There's a gentleman here, third row with a beard. No, over here, over here. Yeah, right there.
Sebastian.
Yeah.
75 million voters in America that we know of. About 20 million around the world, patriots, were shocked at that one moment when everything went down, went dead. 2 hours later, everything came back up, or 3, and it was lost. So we don't want to see that again.
Right.
That was one of our nightmares.
Right.
And we're concerned about that. What do you have in plan, or how do you think we can prevent that from happening ever again?
So, are you here with friends? Is there somebody next to you? Hey, was he asleep for the last 28 minutes? I mean, seriously, I'm not trying to be, nasty. Was he asleep? You don't know? You're saying you don't know? Okay. I'm sorry, I just told you what to do. I just told you what to do. Go to TrumpForce47.com and get 10 people to vote. I can't be more explicit. We've got 3 weeks left, guys. They're gonna cheat. We know they're gonna cheat. I find it amusing. I have traveled. I wasn't born here, as you can tell from my deep Alabamian accent, right? And I have traveled the world, from Japan to Egypt, you name it, Africa. I've traveled everywhere. There's only one moment, gentlemen. There's only one developed nation in the world, this one, that jokes about one of their two parties having dead people vote. They don't do this in Belgium. They don't do this in Holland. They don't do this anywhere else, where you have a country with two parties, and we joke, it is a national joke, that the dead people in Chicago vote for the Democrats. I hate it when people say, well, 2020, they stole it, they'll steal it again. Were you asleep for the last 60 years? Does nobody know what happened in Chicago, Philadelphia, and Baltimore in 1960? You do know JFK didn't win that election, right? Joe Kennedy, the bootlegger, his dad, literally bought the votes of the dead in the big Democrat cities. If you don't believe me, look it up. It was clear that he was bought the presidency, but Nixon, you can say he was an idiot to do this, Nixon said, for the sake of peace in America, I'm not going to talk about how they stole the election. The Democrats have been doing this for 70 years. So what you're talking about isn't something you should be afraid about now. It is the tradition of the left. You have to listen to one thing, what President Trump has said for the last 6 months. Too big to rig. They will cheat. We have to have a landslide where it doesn't matter how much they cheat because it's so big. Look at the figures. Virginia could be in play. If Virginia's in play, there aren't enough dead people to vote for the Democrats. So to answer, and thank you, you did this deliberately to allow me one more opportunity to say it. TrumpForce47.com, TrumpForce47.com, now. Fight.
a Vietnam combat veteran.
Absolutely.
I received the Silver Star for going into 4 bunkers and killing everybody in those bunkers. And I love your show on Newsmax. I watch it all the time. And I am so disgraceful of Biden, what he did in Afghanistan, to pull out like that and blaming Trump that it's his fault.
Yeah.
It's Biden's fault that did that, because he could have waited, but he wasn't man enough to do it. He was no commander-in-chief that I would follow. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And I will do what the director of the most amazing museum I've ever seen, the National Museum of Military Vehicles, just taught me last month. He said, whenever you meet a Vietnam vet, because it didn't happen to them back in 1971, 1972, whenever you meet a Vietnam vet, tell them one thing: welcome home. Welcome home, sir. Welcome home. You know, I'll take one more question in a second, one last question before we go on. Let's just be clear about the last 4 years. Price of groceries, gas, mortgages, I get it. But think about this. Not one person has paid a price for the catastrophes that we have witnessed. 13 warfighters were murdered by an ISIS bomber at Kabul International Airport. Allegedly, a Marine who lost 3 of his limbs was a sniper at the airport at Abbey Gate, had eyes on the bomber, and was told not to remove the threat. Not. He said this in congressional testimony. It's a man who lost 3 of his limbs. Scores of our warfighters were very badly wounded. Watch the footage of President Trump in Arlington 2 months ago. You'll see some of them with the president, who was requested to be there by the Gold Star Fund. Can I just, give me a minute. The Gold Star families who lost their loved ones first requested on the 3rd anniversary of the Abbey Gate massacre to have a representative come to Arlington Cemetery from the White House. Then they asked President Trump. Joe Biden was on the beach in Rehoboth, and this isn't classified, you can look it up. Kamala Harris's schedule for that day was empty. President Trump went at the request of the surviving families. Not one civilian, not one officer was fired or had the honor to resign after the Abbey Gate massacre and the $83 billion worth of equipment that were left there for the Taliban and Al-Qaeda. In fact, the 4-star general who is now against the Constitution, serving as our Secretary of Defense, you are not allowed to take off your uniform and become the Secretary of Defense without a 2-year cooling off period. He was given an exemption. Lloyd Austin, 4-star general, Secretary of Defense, sworn testimony in front of Congress, said, I have no regrets about Afghanistan. I have no regrets. And then if you want to talk to somebody who's a Republican and still has issues with President Trump's mean tweets, tell them this about Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris is on video saying, I am proud to have been the last person in the room when Joe Biden decided to surrender Afghanistan. She said that. Look it up. God bless you, sir. Last question.
I've been watching your show for about a year now, and I always wondered, what was it like working for President Trump?
Thank you. You are a young man of excellent taste. Excellent taste. This is bad. I've been given 40 minutes and I'm at exactly 40 minutes and now I want to tell a really long, cool story. I'll condense it. I'll condense it. I know it's raining, right? I can keep talking. So you've got to understand this. I became a proud American citizen in 2012. And January 21st, 2017, 5 years later, on a Saturday morning when everybody else is hungover from the inauguration ball, I don't drink, my wife and I haven't drunk for 20 years, I decided to go to work, because hey, I'm a deputy to the president. I don't care if it's a Saturday, this is cool. And I go in to the White House, I get my pass, everybody's at home hungover. There's nobody there except the Secret Service. Day after the inauguration, and I'm getting chills telling this story now for about the 40th time, okay? And I picked out my office, and I walk up to the Rose Garden entrance, you know, the famous glass doors, and there's this black Secret Service uniformed officer sitting at a desk there. And I'm like, I'm an immigrant, right? And I say to her, how far can I go? And she says, sir, what color is your badge? And I look down at my badge, it's still warm from the machine. And I say, it's blue. And she goes, sir, you can go wherever you want. And she presses this hidden button under the desk, and the glass doors open, and I, an immigrant who only became an American 5 years ago, is walking into the Rose Garden. Only in America. Only in America. And then I worked for, so everybody wants to know what's he like, what's he really like. I got bad news for you. If you've been alive for the last 20, 30, 40 years and you've seen my former boss on TV in front of 60,000 people in a stadium, on The Apprentice, that's who he is. What you see is what you get. Katie and I live in the swamp. There are like 3 honest people in the swamp, okay? Everybody else smiles for the camera, perfect hair, and behind closed doors, they're scum. And they're like, you know, two-faced whatevers. President Trump is exactly the same in front of 100,000 people at Butler as he is with me by myself in the Oval Office. Because he's real. He's real. I'll end on this. President Trump doesn't need to do what he's doing. Right? As he said at Butler, I could be in Monte Carlo, I could be on the beach, right? I could be building another golf course in Scotland. I could be at home with my grandkids. They've tried to kill him 5 times. Not twice. This is the stuff I can talk about unclassified. 5 times. A woman from Canada mailed him ricin nerve agent to his home. Nobody talks about this stuff. And he did 2 rallies yesterday. 2 in one day. He's going to New York in 2 weeks' time. Why? Because he doesn't care. He'll take another bullet for us because he loves America. It is our duty to have his back. Our duty to have his back. Fight, fight, fight. Vote, vote, vote. TrumpForce47.com, TrumpForce47.com. All right, up next, and I have to say this, we are having a book signing for all of my books and Katie's books, but I have been told you will be handcuffed to your chair. Nobody is allowed to run out of here to get Katie and me to sign our books to you until every single gun is auctioned off, okay? So, car, firearms, everything else we have here. Best company in the planet, sponsor me every Friday. Justin gets it, God bless him. I will not sign any books until the guns are sold. Are we clear? Good, thank you. All right.